recording. Here come the masses. So it begins.
I thought you fell asleep, man.
I did. I had a dream that Doug was run by alligators.
And Ernie was the only one that could stand
Ernie
stand
was the
against
one
it.
that was needed to reclaim Doug from the alligators. Or maybe I was the gator the entire time.
Stop,
Some
it's
weird
scary.
dreams, Lewis.
I have some pretty weird dreams. I had a dream the other day where I was there's a mailman. I wasn't him. I was his mailbag, and I was singing while he was putting mail in me.
What?
I had one where I was getting dragged away by somebody, and Thorn was the reason I was getting dragged away. So as I was getting dragged away, I shot him in the head.
Oh. There's another dream. I put it in the Odyssey channel. Like, I had to type right when I woke up. It was like, I don't know where the message is exactly, but something along the lines of like, I got the president in trouble, but the president was Pinocchio from Shrek.
What? That's the kind of reality I want to live in. What the
And
fuck?
Like the company that I worked for was like threatening to kill Pinocchio president's son. That was weird.
I have some pretty fucking weird dreams, and I always like wake up believing that it actually happened. I had one where I was talking to my mum, and my mum gaslit me into thinking it was gonna snow. So I woke up in the morning, looked out, saw no snow, and was like, "Ah, oh, fuck." I got
It was
debated.
gonna snow.
Then, then like we had this massive burst of snow that came like a week later. So I don't know, maybe it just had a delay effect thing on it.
I want Pinocchio for president, so we know for a fact when he's lying.
All right, so we've learned today that Mac gets premonitions from beyond the grave, and Lewis does mescaline. Good meeting,
guys. You can go back.
I think we're done.
We're not gonna top that.
Oh, I found the message. Yeah, so it was a mix of the president was a mix of Pinocchio from Shrek and Humpty Dumpty,
A mix.
and he was angry.
The worst could have been Mickey Mouse.
Oh god. Or Goofy. Yo. I'll send him to Guantanamo Bay.
I'll do it again.
I'll fucking do it again. Not got that many topics to go through. And no one's upvoted the final fucking two, but no one's downvoted them either. Though we'll probably be talking about them.
They were
in a
made
minute.
like today, so I feel like they're fair
Yeah.
game, right?
Yeah.
I got some
You have
personal
some weird
thoughts with those.
Poppy things, Joe.
So,
Oh,
I
there
was
we
trying-
go. There we go. There we go.
I got a couple
What
things
do
to
you
bring up as
fucking
well.
know?
Which
If you
also
wanna
do
if you wanna
oppose.
handle that first, then we can do.
No, it's like Waxer's thing. I tried it myself in my own little Discord, and the idea I got from it is that it just promotes that only some of those posts are going to get looked at compared to what it is right now. I think
Yeah.
first come first serve is better than
Whichever ones it just
oh.
happens to be at the top.
ours, whichever one happens to be at the top, as well as, oh, this person has an awesome logo or an awesome image. I'm going to click on this one besides the guy who doesn't have those assets. And those people just get forgotten. Which kind of sucks. But also the thing is, I wanted to ask folk thoughts on the forums as a whole for the shared content. Do people like it? Do people hate it? Do they want it back to how it was, or keep it as is?
Keep it.
I think it's good.
I think the new version's quite good.
I
It
know
was
there were a
weird to
few
get used
kinks with
to,
it.
but
As much as I am a stubborn old man that doesn't like change, it has definitely grew on me.
Yeah,
You're
personally,
like 12.
Yes.
I want to keep the archive because people like looking back at that and
Yeah,
referencing from
yeah.
it and shit.
It's
And
nice to be able to be like, oh fuck, there was a video from like a year ago. I can search in the Discord and find it. Whereas if all that
so-
archive was gone, it would just be not all gone. Drop of a hat. Nothing. Everything like all from the past like few years.
yeah, at the very least, if it ever goes away, it won't be deleted. It'll just be out of sight.
Yeah.
But I think at that point, we'd probably just make like a tag that says like, "Hey, do you want access to the archive channel?" There you go. But for us, it's just like whatever, just have it. It's easier that way overall.
All right. I think that has been enough time for the unwashed masses to trickle in here. Not too many topics to go over today, but sure it'll be interesting regardless. The first topic in there was left by Mr. Joe. If you would like to take it away.
Sure. We were discussing this earlier in the week with the CCE stuff. I think I made this comment like quite a while ago now, but it seems a bit more relevant now. Server feels kind of stagnant right now for me, and it comes back to the fact that we haven't really made any changes to keep people moving around the map. There's not that much gameplay incentive to move around the map right now, especially if you live out in the southwest where most of the good gear is. That's not an attack at anyone. That's just how DayZ works. So I'm suggesting we discuss some soft measures, let's call it, to get the population out and about. Incentives for people to travel, where they can randomly come across each other and do what DayZ players do. I'll add that I wrote another because I think I've suggested this 2 or 3 times, and it's been discussed, or quote unquote discussed, at 2 or 3 community meetings, including before we removed code locks. And no one seems to have anything to say. There seems to be quite a lot of agreement every time that it's worth discussing, but no one seems to have any ideas or have anything to say against it or even have anything to say for it when it comes to the meetings. So I'm interested to hear if anyone else has anything to add, really.
Honestly, something that... Ooh, Tony, if you want to speak.
No, you can go ahead first, man. It's fine.
If something that kind of sprung to mind for me was having different sections of the map be places you can find different resources. I don't know, like say you can only find epoxy in the north, you can only find like the super shiny guns in the west, you can only find nails in the east, and then something in this like or just something that means that you can't just have all your eggs in one basket. You're just sitting on your dragon horde, able to pick anything you want from your doorstep. It could encourage some form of movement, people going to different sections of the map, though that could also just lead to people just doubling down in the parts that matter for them the most.
That's not a bad idea. I think there's some problems with that given
Yeah.
like how the CLE works at a code level, I guess.
Yeah, you would have
But,
to rework how the CLE works as a whole with its tier system. Just redo the tiers entirely, basically.
But anyway, I mean, like, that's just one thing that we could
Yeah.
do. I know one that I've mentioned before is encourage people to move around in order to build bases by making it so that you need to get your planks from a lumber mill, for example. And that could probably be accompanied by an increase to the number of lumber piles spawning. Like, I don't think anyone intends to make scarcity through that. It would just be a way to get people making another trip around the map in order to build their base, you know?
I think the annoying thing with that would be if people don't have cars and they're trying to build. Well, for like most solos, it probably wouldn't be that much of an issue because all they'd need to do is grab like a bag full of planks and then off they go. But if you're building anything more than like 2 or 3 gates, it could become a hassle with the amount of planks you'd have to go back and forth to get.
But maybe if you're building something big, then, well, A, it should be a little bit of a hassle. And B, you should be incentivized to do a lot of planning, like get a car, for example.
Or make it a group thing where everybody's carrying a bag of planks.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. Then you get multiple people moving around.
Tony, if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, because I remember thinking this exact same thing like way back when about the CLE, specifically with the change of specific things in specific spots and how it would essentially you'd have to essentially rework the CLE from the ground up. I get what my main thing was going to be was I was going to ask if you had any ideas because I think that that's the real uh restriction right now is that that's a great idea, but we're not sure how to do it. At least I haven't been able to think of anything, and I've been, I've tried to think about it from before code locks were removed and all that kind of stuff. Um, do you have any other, aside from a CLE rework?
I think the other thing that might benefit the server loot wise is spreading out dynamic spawns. If you look at a map of where military trains, helis, to a certain extent convoys, where those sort of things spawn, it's very west centralized, and that follows quite clearly on from what BI's philosophy for the game is, right? Because you spawn on the coast out east, probably. You walk west to where the high tier loot is. You get high tier loot. You probably lose it fighting someone, and then you do it again. But I think that gameplay loop is kind of broken on Doug, or like it's semi-broken. You know what I mean? Because some people will do that, but other people don't.
Right.
Other people take a much longer view of playing DayZ, and they'll be alive for weeks, months, instead of an evening sort of thing. So maybe it would be better to have a more decentralized spread of dynamic spawns, especially because things like helis are the best place to get high tier stuff like fouls and all the like. And then if they're spawning in a larger portion of the map, then ultimately you need to roam a larger portion of the map to find those things, right? If it's the same number of helis spawning, but they can spawn over a 30% larger area, then you're going to have to cover more ground. So that's just one way I think might work. I don't know.
Would you, if you did that though, would you see less, or could you see less people roaming, from the east side to the west side, to look for that stuff? Now they can cover essentially their area of heli spawns.
No, I'm suggesting, I think it's like 3 helis that exist at a time, right?
Right.
I'd say like you still want 3 existing, but you want them existing over a larger area such that the chance that a heli is going to be in any one spawn is lower. So people could only roam their given area if they wanted to, but the problem they'd encounter is they wouldn't find many helis.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I do think that it's probably not going to have the biggest impact because, while I remember heli hunting was a huge thing, I haven't heard people talk about heli hunting in a while, mostly because, loot's not as rare.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a
Yeah.
silver bullet. I'm not saying either of those things I suggested would magically fix the server, but
Because I
I
do
can't
want to
see
put
them
out
doing
there,
much
I
other
do
than
agree with
helping.
you. I just like, personally, I'm also at a loss for what to do with it, and I think that's probably I feel like a lot of people probably do agree with you, but
Yeah,
no one's
it's the
sure how to
means
do it.
rather than the principle that a lot of people would disagree on.
Yeah.
But I do remember before the code lock removal, there was a disagreement on the principle as well. And when I suggested some of these things, they got a lot of pushback back then. So I think people have evolved in their view on these things. Like you said, I don't think it would be that impactful on how the regular Doug player plays the server, but it might help some of the larger sort of climate level issues we have.
And that's all the questions I had.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this? Any ideas, suggestions, contradictions, thoughts?
And like Tony, I'm all ears for it because I might think this is a good idea, but I don't have all the answers on how we could do it. So
My thought is if you want to spread out your dynamic stuff, get yourself some form of a document showing which ones you want to outright remove and where exactly on the map you want these new ones to be appearing, as well as going in game for yourself and checking those saved areas
yeah,
to make
so
sure that they are kosher.
I think that would essentially be what I'm gonna do when the CCE rolls around at whatever indeterminate date that happens. I'm planning on putting a much more detailed proposal, I guess you could call it, in, giving people as much info as I can on what I'm suggesting. Obviously, I don't have access to numbers, things like that. So if I wanted to suggest buffing plank spawns, then I kind of have to be a little bit, I don't know, imprecise on that. But I'll do my best.
Right. If we have nothing else to say on this topic, we can move on to our next one, which was proposed by Biscuits, though I don't think Biscuits is here. Though I think his topic is very worthy of discussion. Potentially change the Dougies so nominations are submitted quarterly for the upcoming year, then voting begins at the end of the year. This way, cool stuff, people, and events at the start of the year are not forgotten.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Just because obviously come November, December time, you end up kind of, it's the things that happened in like January, February, March feel a fucking world away. So they kind of fall to the back of your mind. It'll be all the more recent pieces of content, events, deaths, whatever that kind of spring to mind first and foremost. Tony?
I think it's a great idea. Who do we tell to do it?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yep. While I agree that's a great idea, I'm also not going to look a gift horse in the mouth of whoever decides they want to step up and do it. If the community wants to put together maybe like a Dougie council, or I can't think of the word, or like whatever that organizes such a thing, I think that's a great idea.
Miller?
What if you did something like a thread, and there'd be 4 threads in this channel for the year just for this, and like a reminder pops up for nominations quarterly, and then at the end of the year, you go through it. This would be like a semifinal, final. The quarters are the semifinals, and then at the end of the year, you take all those and vote on those for the finals or whatever. Something along those lines. Does that make sense?
I mean, the ever looming question is like, who's gonna host the Duggies? I guess I definitely see that criticism.
If you don't want burnout, I would recommend 2 a year instead of 4 a year.
I don't
also
think
gives
I
more
don't
time
think the
for
plan.
content.
I don't think the plan is to be like to basically split the Duggies quarterly, but just have it so that you open up voting quarterly, just so that you get
Or nominations.
open up nominations quarterly so that people
Yeah.
don't forget about things. It's not going to be like there's going to be 4 different Dougie
Right. And that's what I meant
ceremonies.
was more for nominations, not actual voting.
Yeah, the voting would still, I'd assume, happen like December time, but it just kind of is a countermeasure to all the cool things that happened in the earlier part of the year getting forgotten. Though, yeah, having someone be a dedicated Dougie person could be a lot. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say on the matter? Any thoughts, concerns?
Yeah, I don't see anyone stepping up for it. It's a lot of work and it's kind of thankless. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it personally, you know.
Right, well, the next topic was proposed by some fucking loser. Either revert the separation of fen/gate kits, or blatantly advertise this change, preferably in game. It seems like every day someone in the Discord gets caught out by this change. As for reverting it, this change was to counter ghost gating during the no-lock era, and now that locks are back, I see no problems with reverting this back to how it was, as there's means to prevent it now. That being said, my opinions on ghost gating have kind of... I like that ghost gating isn't as much of a thing anymore, but even still, I don't think I've seen one all too recently, but I've also not been paying that much attention. Definitely seemed like every other fucking day someone would be appearing in the Discord like, hey, I've trapped myself in my house. It won't let me build the gate. What's wrong? And then they get told that Doug has gate kits as a separate thing, and I would say it's probably even drove people away from the server because they get frustrated that they put hours sometimes into gearing up, getting sorted, all that stuff, and then they don't have an axe, so they basically have to kill themselves and start anew. I'm not really sure how it would get sorted. Aside, reverting it could be messy because I don't know how it would affect like existing gate kits and stuff. That would probably be a thing you'd need to really do if we're wiping or something. Though I think even just having a message appear in game, just saying something, even like it leads you with a link to somewhere that can basically signpost to you the change, because I can definitely imagine it being frustrating when basically all of Doug's building is vanilla, but there's this one little thing that you could quite easily miss before it's too late.
Xavier, sadly, that cannot happen. That's just not how BI allows it. That's why it's sadly at the bottom of the list rather than where it should be. As far as I'm aware, though I could be wrong with this, reverting it would more likely require a server wipe. So I think internally what we were talking about was next server wipe will probably just be reverting this, if that is what people want. And if need be, if people want this as well, we can add a rule in saying, hey, don't ghost gate. But if you guys don't mind ghost gating, then won't be a rule.
Yeah, add a rule. It's cringe.
Yeah, adding a rule could be very dicey. And yeah, I'll bet there'd be tickets over that.
So I would agree with Joe here on that. It's majority of times when it's used, it's kind of cringe.
Harvey.
I'd say just keep it as is. It's not so bad these days. And I mean, it's been like over a month since I've seen someone complaining about it, but there is something to the idea of, you know, having more, maybe more comprehensive Doug changes. I know it's in the announcements, but nobody obviously reads them. We have a building guide and building rules on the website, but I think they're pretty out of date, and that would be an ideal place to just throw it in there.
You stamp it at the top of the page in plain view.
And like if you it already flashes up when you log in, you don't read the rules, yada yada, and if you don't do it at that point, it's kind of on you.
Yeah, I can add it to the base building page.
Yeah, I think it just needs a couple fixing. I haven't looked at it recently, I'll be honest.
I already updated it after we had a guy go around stacking watchtowers on top of each other.
Oh, perfect.
That was an interesting fiasco.
I didn't think that was even fucking possible anymore.
Neither did I until I got the picture.
Jesus.
The
There's a
ingenuity.
way they'll find it, right?
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's up to snuff at least for the moment. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll add that in bold above the base building section right now.
The Tower of Babylon has been destroyed.
Because yeah, it's prominent in the announcements, but that's like however many months ago now. Some people don't scroll back that far.
Yeah, I doubt the first thing on people's agenda when they join a new Discord server is go into the announcements tag and scroll through the past, like, however many years of changes and updates and whatever else.
Well, that's just what it is with modding, right? Though there's always going to be something that somebody is unaware of,
Yeah.
and for some people, that's make or break. Even if it is the simplest of things, like putting face paint on, you need to go find alcohol tincture. There's nothing that really tells you that. And for somebody to have that stuck on their face, they might just be like, "Fuck it, that's enough. I don't care. My face is ruined," and leave. I had some asshole with a red armband paint my face, told me to fuck off.
Wait a minute.
No,
Thor.
Thor does that.
Thor.
That's true.
It happened at the dugout a lot too when we were running the camp, so we're with you there.
It's one of those things where you got to take it with a pinch of salt and not. I mean, I would agree that yeah, it's a problem, but at the same time, there's only so much we can do to fix it. And if we like this change, that's just the cons we'll have to take with this.
Tony.
Is having a server message that at least I guess like notify, because I can't think of any other crazy changes or rules that are that detrimental, that is kill yourself and all your gear is locked behind a gate you can't get back to, and you know what I mean. So would there be any reason we can't do a server message and keep it as it is?
I'll ask Diesel.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I mean, unless there is like obviously like kind of one of those things where if there is a really good reason or you think it's going to open up a can of worms, I get it. But at least from my perspective, it doesn't seem like it would really hurt anything to have that at the beginning.
Do you mean like by server message, like you know how when you first log in you get that like orange text? Do you mean something like that?
Oh, like
With, like, a
where
link
it's
to,
showing
like,
up in
how
the bottom
Doug-
left-hand corner when people will get disconnected or whatever, stuff like that.
Well, because there's that one that appears like a minute after you log in. Maybe there could also like we could add on to
yeah.
that something of like how Doug is different than vanilla. And they can go check that out, and it spams their screen after a minute of being on, like the current one does.
Or even, yeah, especially if the base building rules are going to be updated, instead of specifically calling that out, it could even just say like, welcome to Doug, changes, blah blah blah. If you're thinking about building a base, make sure to check the rules, blah blah. Something like that. That way, it's like, hey, you had you had your chance. They told you to go and check. Like, sorry you didn't read that part. It's right at the top of the page.
Anyone else have any other thoughts, opinions, etc. on this? Or should we move to the next one?
There you go. Edit it to the main base building page, right below the first paragraph in all bold.
Can you add like clickable links to the server message?
No.
Yeah, it would be tricky because obviously when people join a server, they'll be like, "Read our rules," and it comes up with a link, and you can't really click the link in game. So, well, I guess then at that point, yeah, it's definitely their fault if they don't check it out. Only so much you can do, I suppose. Though, if people are done with this topic, then we can move to the next one, which was proposed, well, comes in two parts, really. First of which was proposed by Waxer, and it was built upon by Joe. I don't believe Waxer is here, so I'll read out his section. Does anyone else think that having recruiting in the forums format would be good or not? Just have that one post for just have one post for each group that no one can comment in as like a catalogue of groups, and the OP can edit it to say if they're recruiting or not. Is this a bad idea?
For other people that weren't here, I was discussing this at the beginning before we officially started. Personally, I believe it's a bad idea based on how threads work. As it currently is, it's kind of like first come, first serve, which is why we kind of have this battle of people copy pasting when it's their turn to refresh. Personally, I would prefer people to continue doing that, and it gives the average person a better chance of looking, I guess, unbiasedly towards groups, and they rather see, who's more active rather than who is the person who is more flashier looking. For threads, the first time to see somebody post something, it's mainly depending on what they have linked and what's being shown on their thread. So if they have a very fancy picture or a logo, more than likely you'll be seeing people being dragged, or rather drawn towards those people, in comparison to somebody who might be new and upcoming and doesn't have all those fancy assets in comparison. And those people are kind of left in the dust just a bit.
Yeah, I definitely see the wisdom in that. Obviously, right now it just kind of becomes who can throw their thing in after everyone else are there at the bottom, but it's probably better than the alternative of everything just sinking.
One other thing I found strangely difficult, and to me, seeing it being that just a little bit annoying, I can only imagine who somebody who is not savvy with threads or Discord as a whole is, will never find a way to get to your Discord invite link. At least when I was first trying it out, that was when we were first adding the shared content thread in. So it just seemed really unintuitive for what people are wanting, I think, from it. But if there's somebody here that's more savvy with it, feel free to speak up. And if you feel that's what's needed, then it will be added.
Personally, I think we should move to a thread thing, just because I don't like the constant repost war, and I think there's nothing stopping people from making a logo or something nice if they want it. Hell, I volunteer a decent amount of my time making logos every time we do a new map, so I wouldn't mind doing it for them.
Oh, welcome, Waxer. If you'd like to speak on your topic, then by all means feel free.
Thank you. Yeah, I was asleep. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it would be a lot better way of doing it personally because I've seen it before, but the Doug recruitment is like kind of like a battlefield. I've seen like 3 or 4 groups post their recruitments like back to back to back to back, like within like a 5-minute span, because they're all waiting for each other to post first. I think if we had, you know, just one post for each group that they didn't have to repost, you could get a lot more like information in that thing. With the a Discord part that you brought up, Diesel, instead of them putting their Discord in like, you know, their first post or like the original part that they're going to be posting with the thread, you can just put it underneath, and then it's the thread just like counts as like just a message board. Then obviously no one would be able to message in it, but if they just put in the Discord underneath their first post, then it just shows normally. Yeah, that's just me.
Anyone else have any thoughts on this, or shall we move on to Harvey?
Just on how the threads work, aren't they sorted by newest anyway? So whoever puts theirs up last is gonna be at the top regardless. It's the same problem, isn't it?
Well, the way current share
Is it even a
content,
problem? I don't know.
with the way current share content works, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but you have to go in and manually select, like, sort by date posted. Otherwise, it just lists all of the different threads as, like, which one was the most active recently. So you could, like, I guess I'm not exactly sure the point I'm making, but, like, you could keep if you don't make that switch, you could keep your factions like post at the top by just like commenting in it and stuff, and if people don't make that switch by sorting.
I think the idea was you just limit commenting to moderators, and then you wouldn't have this problem. Obviously, they'd still be posted in an order, like Harvey said, but if you can see 6 of them per screen instead of 1, then it's definitely better.
Good enough for me. I'm going to toss a thing for our group and faction people. Vote up or down, if that's what you want.
Wait,
And
vote
then-
up if you do want it? Like the
Yeah,
new
if
thing,
you
or-
if
okay.
you want threads, vote up. I'll type something out really quick.
I think it would be cool too if factions could pick out like in their thread for their recruitment post, they could put like some of their favorite content they've made as a group or faction in there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So make it almost so it's like this is the damn
It's-
thread, all their
well, yeah,
content.
like
This
you-
is a
you-
vigil thread.
Yeah,
like,
you click
I
on
like
the damn
that.
thread, for example, and it's like, you know, like they could reach out to the moderators of the staff team, and it's like, you know, like this is some artwork that came from our group. These are some of our favorite videos that we made, and that could be added to the thread. It's like it's more
that's not a bad
in-depth
idea.
advertisement than just like a Discord link and a few paragraphs.
I do like acknowledge what these things saying, where like it's obviously biased towards older groups that have more content to show, but
Oh, for sure.
I feel like we should be celebrating when people make cool stories or cool content, that sort of stuff, you know?
And I was talking to Ash earlier today, and she was saying how like when she first joined the server, she spent like ages scrolling up like through all like the fat paragraphs, you know. If she only has to scroll like 2 scrolls to get through all of the groups that she can just click on as she pleases, instead of like scrolling up fat paragraphs of like, you know, you scroll past 5 or 6 like 6 times before you see like GP once. It just seems better.
And I'll give it like, I'll give it like 3 or 4 days. Let people wake up and see that stuff and vote. And depending on what it is, we'll do a quick little trial period, make sure it's set up properly, and see how people like it, and then we'll go from there.
Cool.
And speaking of which, I think I already asked this, but I'll ask again. People are happy with how threads are in share content. and people are happy or not happy that we have the archive channel still visible.
I think it works.
I like that I've been able to go back and look for things that were posted in the old share content, but I like that I can click on the new one, and it's like everybody can discuss stuff on certain posts, but none of the content is pushed out of your face. Like it's all still there for you to click on, and the discussions are happening to each specific post without moving the content up, if that makes sense.
I really like that aspect.
It's a good change.
Waxer.
An easy way of maybe sorting that is if you had a new section called like because obviously you've got like, you know, Doug community, Doug feedback, stuff like that as the sections. You could just have Doug archived, and then you can chuck all the archive stuff there, and then anyone that doesn't want to see it can just close that folder altogether, and then it's not an issue for anyone that doesn't want to see it, sort of thing.
Yeah, the old modding feedback channels that have been made read-only, they can go down in there, and then old share content archive could all be tucked in
You
there.
could probably just turn that into archived, couldn't you? Because I don't know how we're doing the new thing. I don't know if we're even going to be using that anymore. Probably even just turn that into the archived area and chuck the old share content down there as well, and then anyone that doesn't want to see it can just close it altogether.
Yeah, I think we're waiting on Blue to finish up the CCE stuff for the Discord. I saw something here, but now it's gone. I think he may have messed up with something. I think once those are in place, then yeah, we can just make a new archive section and shove it all down to that. And you can just close that tab and mute it if you don't care.
Yeah, if you don't want to look at it, you just collapse that category and it's just down there.
Yeah.
Just close your eyes and walk away.
I feel like this segues perfectly onto Joe's follow-up. If you would like to go with that, Mr. Joe.
Oh yeah, I mean this was nothing huge. I just think that the Discord could use a cleanup. It's been a very long time. We've got a lot of separate channels that could probably just be one channel. Like you could consolidate multiple into one. Obviously with the CCE stuff coming, we've got a bunch of defunct channels now. I know people like having the share content there, but you could make that role dependent for people who don't want an extra channel. Yeah, there's a bunch of ways you can make it so that we don't have a billion channels like we do now, you know. There's 2 different channels for 2 different Twitter feeds. Like, you could just put them in the same channel, you know.
One is for our account, and then one is for the DayZ account.
Yeah, but why?
Good question.
That's all I'm saying, really. Like,
yeah, I understand.
We could streamline that a lot if we wanted to, and you know, it'd be aesthetically pleasing.
I'll ask Blue to get those 2 put together and just make it Twitter updates. DayZ Twitter updates.
Waxer. I think you're cute.
That was old.
Alright, yeah, it's old. Alright. If that is all we have for these topics, look, another one has fucking appeared. I just thought of this now, but I feel it's worth discussing. A discussion on all things raiding, etiquette, effectiveness, and speed. Probably a few more things I could have put in there, but those are the ones that sprung to mind. The increased availability of explosives, plastic explosives especially, has sped up raiding significantly. Also, locks spawning damaged and even war, and I feel has had an effect, and I feel this is something worth discussing, as I've noticed an uptick in raiding in recent weeks. Pretty much what it says on the tin. Seems like when raids happen, especially when it's like big raids, usually it just ends up 20 minutes, in and out, boom, 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 ton of damage, walls down. And I figured it was worth a discussion. I'm not really sure in what way the discussion could go, but if anyone has anything they want to say on it, any ideas, suggestions, thoughts, etc., by all means. because I'm very intrigued to see how people feel about it. Harvey.
I honestly think this might be better suited for the CCE discussion. Not
That's understandable, yeah.
Lock on it or something, but I'm sure that's going to come up as a topic.
Yeah, that's true. That is quite a big thing for the server. And if people have, I guess if people
want to
have
say stuff
Yeah.
now, that's fine.
if people have no real thoughts on it, then we can just move on. But of course, if anyone has anything they want to say, any thoughts, anything like that, then by all means. But if not, I have no more topics here that need to be read out. Unless staff want to say anything or have anything they'd like to bring up, anything like that, then I suppose you could all be dismissed. Anything left in the tank, Desync?
Like, let's see. Make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I've had some folks DM me about some stuff. I know we have a couple tier 2 groups coming up. I'm trying to see what I can do tonight to get you a visual on your armbands and stuff, and then finish up the scripting for that, and then send it over to Ammo and pester the shit out of them to push an update. Because I think there's 3 tier 2s that are coming up or
Holy
already
shit.
ready to go. And I know I need to fix on our back end the scripting for one group. They need because they had a name change. They need to fix their scripting side because it still says their original name. And I guess people are getting confused when they're spawning stuff in on their own little private servers for stuff. Another bit was, okay, I'm forgetting it right now, which is a shame. Let me see if I can drag it back out of my brain. Oh yeah, I know that there's nothing we can do about it, but I was still curious about people's thoughts. With the change that BI made, which apparently was done through the engine itself, which means as far as we're aware, there is nothing we can do on our end to change it. It is up to BI to do it. Vehicles being able to have their wheels damaged and removed. Are people happy that this has returned, or are they hoping that in some way some hand of God can fix this? Or rather revert it to what it was?
Honestly, I kind of prefer the wheels being stuck to the cars. I find it leads much less to cars just becoming limp and just being eyesores that will maybe one day despawn and become useful again. I think it's better if the wheels are static.
Not speaking as a member of staff, I loved the fact that the wheels were stuck to the cars. Like the 1.19, I saw so many cars being driven around, like dugout as we were moving into Odyssey. We had a bunch running on our own, and we were using them, and it was like, I don't know. I liked that the wheels were stuck to them, and like somebody breaks into your base, and they can. You can't turn them into a husk for storage. They were being driven around, and if they were locked up, they were raided and taken, or they were found in the woods and taken. Like I liked it. I saw so many cars that patch.
It's so much
Just
better
driving
than
around.
just walking around everywhere and just seeing wheelless car, wheelless car, wheelless car that are all just essentially
Yeah,
useless. They're just like
They were
storage.
everywhere. We multiple patches had gone by, and we never touched cars just because of the pain in the ass that wheels were. And storing them and fixing them up if we ruined the wheels. But like even we were using cars, we were driving them around everywhere. Like at least once a day, you'd see somebody drive through Severa grabbing a car. Like they were everywhere. They were being used. I like that better than like finding wheels and trying to put together cars and people ripping them apart and turn them into giant barrels.
Okay, I have something to throw out, and you guys are free to shoot this down as soon as it comes, because I can understand from just her perspective that this is a dog shit idea. But this is because of a recent admin tool update. We can actually track this and within reason police this. Add a rule to the server. If you are a base owner and you are storing your vehicles in your base, you cannot remove the wheels from your vehicles. They must stay on. Now, if you want to go stash them somewhere, I would argue that is a little bit different. But overall, it's just the idea that if we see you just stashing it just be a husk, it gets deleted and respawned to the world.
Harvey.
I think the only question in terms of the tracking, what if somebody comes up and takes the wheels off?
It is
Like,
also very
ruins them.
true.
Like, it's like through no fault of your own, your car's fucked. But
So I'm not on the mod team desync, but is that something that you guys are still looking into, trying to make the 1.19 mechanics
It's-
work for wheels?
As far as we're aware, the feature of it staying on a vehicle as well as the damage on tires is through the engine itself. There is nothing that indicates that there could be nothing script wise that indicates anything about that part of vehicles.
I assume you're already talking to BI about it. You guys are usually
I
on the ball with that.
I think we sent a message to Summer. The problem is that again, he's a busy guy, so there are times where months he will not respond to stuff because he has probably thousands, if not more than that, messaging him about stuff.
Could we make it so like?
Again, as it stands, when it comes to tires, we can't touch it.
Can you make it so that cars that like natural spawns, they spawn at least with all their tires?
I believe we
So there's
do it
more.
already.
There's more.
Or
Okay.
that there they spawn 3 out of 4. I'd have to ask Diesel again, but I think that is the case.
Because even if you make it 4 out of 4, then just there's more tires in the world.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of mitigates it a little bit.
Tony.
I forgot to put my mic down. Is it possible to make the wheels repairable from a ruined state?
Cannot, again, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to wheels, we cannot alter pretty much anything about them.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe because if the issue is with ruined wheels or having a ruined wheel, if there's something like takes a full, tire repair kit. Because I do know there are some people who enjoy driving around and looking for car parts, looking for wheels and stuff like that, and fixing that stuff up. So I know that that's not the majority. I was just trying to think of something that could work for both.
But to begin with, I think a ruined item, just to begin with, I don't think you can even repair those. I mean, there's probably a mod out there that does it, but as far as I'm aware, that's just
Yeah.
not how DayZ works.
Yeah, I understand. All right, I was just brainstorming.
That was why I suggest like having all car spawns spawn with all their wheels, because that was another fantastically like convenient thing about like you're running around the world, you find a car, it has all its wheels, so it's just like you need to run around in your local region and just find battery, radiator, spark plug, and it was super quick and
Fix it up and use it.
yeah, and then even if like even if you go and store that or something, it's like you find a husk of a car and it's like you can go check spawns and they have all the wheels on them. Like making the wheels more common, I think, would mitigate it. It wouldn't fix it, but it would mitigate the husking.
Let's grab Blake really quick.
Yeah,
Blake.
I'm not sure if it's feasible, but could you increase the actual health of the wheels themselves? So like,
No.
okay, what about making someone they spawn, they've like been tire iron and just disabling tire irons?
Again, that was one of the workarounds we had for it. Again, there's just nothing that allows us to change it because there's just nothing there.
All right, fair enough.
That's the issue that we're facing.
Damn.
I guess that shoots down what I
Which I
had
think
said.
Why our update for that day was taking so long is because we were just trying to figure out anything. We were just throwing shit at the wall to see what stuck. But again, when there's no wall to stick anything to, that's the problem.
BI said, "Fuck the wall, fuck your shit."
But again, I assume
Tore it
it's just
down.
because of the change towards how vehicles as a whole work with gravity and that whole system. I don't know how that works. Monkey brain here. Anyways, my last bit, I wasn't able to attend the CCE meeting, but I was told good things about it, so I was happy. I've added in so far, for people who aren't aware, 2 locations to the game. One of them I'm probably going to be doing some alterations to because I'm not entirely happy with how it looks. But are you guys happy with these additions being placed in? Yay, nay?
Yeah.
New
I like little
locations is
Easter
nice.
eggs.
Yeah, no problem with that at all.
There was one thing that Joe had said, so I'm going to play around with the idea of throwing in some idea of a military base in the east. Because right now I'm trying to practice on some stuff because I got some. I got not too my horn. I got a little thing cooking. If it works,
Make NAF great again.
Chef
I think it's
Chef
gonna
Desync.
shake some things up. Again,
Desync's been
I
cooking
would
again.
also
He's
love
cooking.
to.
this is the first I think I've actually talked anything about it, but it's something that I think Shannara should have had. I really hope it
Gorka
can
military
work.
base.
Aircraft
Diesel coming to the
carrier.
mod channel, like,
It's
Diesel, it's
gonna
time to
be-
cook.
It's gonna be the admin base in the sky.
If you're not adding 8 heli crashes to Nagorno, I will be voting against it.
I see. I've been thinking for a while that the islands, off the coast, like Skalisti and fucking Prison Island, are like criminally, like, maybe not underutilized because the prison is cool and Skalisti is cool, but like, there's just no incentive to go there. I think that like there should be a higher. Some reason to go there, like either bump up the loot like a tier or even 2 tiers, or just have like something cool.
That's the funny part is that there was some things I wanted to work on at Skalisti, but there are people who live there, so I can't.
Yeah,
just get until
I was
wipe were to happen.
I was about to say there's a new group that's propped up. Yeah, Echo's typing in chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they live there. So just one day they log in, there's a whole millie base
Yeah.
at their home. You know?
Yeah, the big problem right now is I'm having to work under very estranged like restrictions to keep this fair for everybody, because there is going to be somebody who will try to take advantage of it, either knowingly or unknowingly. So bear with me, it might take a little bit, and that's why I just quietly add some stuff, see what people think. And usually you guys somehow find these things within an hour.
I know you said you weren't there, but at the CE meeting, like adding in small little map additions and stuff for people to just find by surprise, I think that was unanimously, like, that was one of the things that people were okay with just being slipped in as long as it was well worked out. So like the map additions you've been doing, decent, I think people like.
Yeah, they're
The
great.
surprise is nice.
I
So
can
if
only
you guys
imagine
interested-
how great it would be. It'd just be like walking through the woods of somewhere you've passed by like tens of thousands of times even, and you're just like, huh? This wasn't here
Yeah.
before. The fuck is this?
I mean, like Forrest from my own group, within an hour of Desync adding in his most recent one, found it because he was out like looking for stuff and going through certain areas and like
That's not the
taking.
most recent one.
Re-
Vigilant
oh.
on this. So we have 2 of them right now. One's called Viatoy, and the other one's Adamavka. Both are on the Iservive map, so you can relatively find these. They're not amazing loot, but they're just something to help flesh out some locations and potentially give places for people to build and also hang out at.
Well, there's also that you built it around that one thing, which is what led him to it.
Yeah, the heli crash.
Yeah, and like he found it within an hour because he logged out west and he was like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's like the beginning type of thing. I'm just kind of like testing the waters, see what people like about it, if they hate it, and then work on more stuff like dynamic spawns for locations. That's one of the things I know FL wants for their stuff, which should be getting done here soon. I think we need to talk with Diesel about getting that set up properly with the script, and then they'll have their stuff properly in the
baby.
game finally. It'll be our little test bed for testing a major other mechanic I want in the game,
Oh, that'll be so dope.
which will, I think, alleviate one of the issues I've been hearing people have, but also it's kind of like reworking it so it's not an issue. There's a challenge to it, so it's not just like vanilla easy. And it also encourages people to go inland in the process, as well as just running through the woods, because you might run across it and that might be your saving grace. Anyways, that's pretty much it for me. You guys can all go back to whatever else you're doing. I know I'm trying to play some Minecraft right now.
Yeah, I think that's about it. So if there's nothing else, then class is dismissed. You can all leave or do whatever the fuck you want.
What if I don't?
Little do you know, I was playing a ported Halo on the public schools global drive.
You
The
son of a
entire
bitch.
time.
You'll be speaking to the principal about this.
Man, everyone's just dipping instantly.
They don't stick around for the after party. It's like when they're not watching the credits of a Marvel movie, the amateurs.
They don't know. They don't know. I know better.
They're all leaving. They don't know about the secret after
Yeah,
credit.
Joe, I think the reason why people don't talk too much about your ideas because I don't think anybody's willing to really step up and flesh out what you want. I think it's going to be up to you, since you have a grasp on it, is to just spearhead it yourself, get a document down.
I don't take
CC
it
meeting.
personally. Yeah, I just want to hear what other people think. You know.
And I think the problem is that nobody has because the mechanic to begin with is just terrible, even though it's vanilla on Doug as far as I'm aware. But from the experience people have had, it's just never worthwhile. So it's, what can we do to make that worthwhile? And I think that's going to be the challenge.
Which part are you talking about, DC? Which mechanic?
Lumber piles, for instance.
Oh, lumber piles. Oh, yes, I just didn't hear the word. I was confused by what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I never said it, so that's my fault. Yeah, if we can, I think Heli Crashes again, that's kind of easier. It's just trying to readjust, and then again, getting proper coordinate placements as well as showing off and like, hey, this works, that works, etc. And then just having everybody look at this document, read it over, and they say yay or nay to it, and then that's what's tested, and the system works for 3 months, and then changes are made. That's how CC is meant to be done.
Not that I have necessarily an idea off the top of my head, desync, but how plausible is, or how easily malleable is the loot tier areas?
Pretty sure you have more or less full control of memory. It's just you gotta bust your balls to actually do it. As far as I'm aware, you can override the entire tier map, because you'd have to be able to make your own community maps, right?
That's the tricky part. I don't have a proper answer. I'm not entirely knowledgeable. The problem is that there are things that are written down that tell you this thing will do this and this, but in reality it does this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, the documentation's wrong. Oh, who could have thought
Like,
that?
Who would have thought?
Like, for instance, there are I don't want to spoil. It's kind of like, I'll let you in on a little secret. There are certain things that should be spawning as a whole, but they're only spawning because of one asset in that bundle. And there are some things in that giant conglomerate that never show up as a whole. So like, those two assets are like two in the world, and that's what spawns those items.
Huh.
So people are like scratching their heads, going like, "Why does this tool spawn? Why does this item spawn?" And it's because of that. And there's no
Gotcha.
change that can be done to fix that, besides telling the guy, "Hey, could you fix this for us, please?" And either they'll say something, or they won't, or they'll say, "No, it's what we want it to be."
So goofy.
And that's why we finally have plastic explosive back, right? They were only spawning in the one shed in Cherno.
The
I was
boom
wondering
shed.
about that.
People were confused. What's going on with that? And like the Pox vial, like what's going on with that thing? It's like, we turn it to 0 because we think it's kind of a dumb mechanic, kind of a dumb item. We do everything we can to turn it off, and it still spawns a Riffy.
Plastic explosive almost hilarious. I think that was right when I became a moderator, and I was like watching you guys like figure out like, hey, why are all of the bombs spawning in one shed?
Oh yeah,
Is that what's happening with grenades right now?
There's gonna be a fucking
Holy fuck.
We got someone find the grenade shed. Immediately, everyone.
no. It's gonna be spawning on like a random car in Enwa.
There's a porta potty out there that's just stuffed full of grenades. So you gotta go through
Literally
it.
dropping bombs.
Hey.
That's some explosive diarrhea.
Hey.
Speaking of moderator, I think we'll be opening up for anybody that's interested.
Mhm.
I think we'll be having applications opening here, like in a bit. For anybody who's interested in helping out, just policing the Discord, because that is a 24/7 job. You know how people like to get into their conversations, into the debates, and sometimes somebody got to get into the hole. But we can't always be around to do that for them.
I just imagine the hole is like in Minecraft, like a 2-block deep cat thing that you just like put your NPCs in because they can't get out of it.
My pinnacle achievement as a moderator was banning that guy Grub when he called me a dirty sex man or whatever. I don't even remember what he called me.
Is that not true?
He called me a dirty little sex slave, but it looked like he used Google Translate to type his message.
Oh yeah, that's.
And then
I forgot about
And
that
then
shit.
I banned that guy, and then his friend joined on a brand new Discord account and then called me a communist.
What a fucking leap from dirty little sex slave to communist.
I can't wait for Blue to veto me again and smile.
You know what they say. Third time's a charm. I don't know how many
No,
times. you've-
this time, Joe, I'm sure you'll get it. This time, I'm
Surely I'll get it this time. Surely.
Going back to the Dougie thing,